To our Facebook Live session. My name is Mellor and I'm the leader of BCP Council. What we're going to do is please put your questions in the chat bar below, and I'm here now for half an hour and I'll answer as many of the questions as I can. What we're going to, what I always start with is basically a quick COVID update in terms of assessing where we are as a conurbation at the moment. And for the first time in quite a while now, our rates are actually below the national average. So our COVID rate is 69 per 100,000 people, and that's from a high of over 900 at the peak in January. And the UK average, the England average is 77 per 100,000. So we're really getting on top of it now, which is great news. Our hospital admissions, are following through and at much lower as well. So the NHS, which is still under massive pressure, is effectively much more in control of the situation than at the peak as well, which is great. This is partly due to the vaccination success, and we're approaching 300,000 people in Dorset who have been already vaccinated. So that's really brilliant. Okay, great. Let me get to some of the questions we've got coming in now. Okay, so Liz Palmer's asked a question about Branksome Dean room will open this summer. We have a booking in for July for your wedding. Liz, this is something actually we've been talking about at some length in terms of how we can actually make sure as much of the seafront and our offerings are open for the summer as possible. So yes, I can confirm that the data I've been looking at was including bookings from June. So effectively, we're expecting certainly any bookings in June to be honoured. So Liz, hopefully that's some good news for you. Please feel free to contact our officers and we can get you some more data on that. Okay, Sharon Valler's asked a question about green waste. So 3 green waste bins removed, only 1 new one delivered. Have sent an email but had no response. Sharon, what we'll do is we will look. Oh, sorry, one of our colleagues has already responded to that. So effectively, please let us know and we will respond to you. We actually missed our green bin as a household purely because we forgot to put the new sticker on. So it's really important that we actually, if we've got those stickers, please put them on. So thank you. Okay, let me find a new question. Okay, Lucy Allen's asked an interesting question around, have I seen the questions on the other feed 10 minutes ago? Actually, I haven't, so if any of my colleagues would like to post any of those questions on this feed, that would be great. Lucy, thank you for alerting us to that, and we'll try and make sure that doesn't happen again and next time. Daniel Cogan's asked a question around the Beryl e-scooter trial effectively. So just to let everybody know what that is. So e-scooters, we see quite a lot of them about, but they're not actually legal. What we've asked, what the government are doing is doing a number of trials of e-scooters. And our bike provider Beryl have joined the government trial scheme. So we've got a trial scooter programme going on at the moment. Daniel, you've asked in terms of where can the risk assessment be viewed. Effectively, there was a full risk assessment undertaken. We'll try and make sure that is published, and we get a link to that here if we can, Daniel. But very happy to take any questions on that. Part of the point about a trial is, we need people to engage with us on their use effectively. So please, feel free to be involved in that programme. Okay. Okay, so Polly Morris has got a question around planning permission around Avon Beach huts over a public promenade. Polly, so effectively, the planning committee is a quasi-judicial committee, so it's not a political part of the administration. So it's not something I'm personally able to answer. But if you want to contact any of your local councillors, we can pick that up for you if you feel it's not being addressed. Anthony Fuller asked a question, a fundamentally important one. What are you doing about Westover Road? It's disgusting. Anthony, I think that's really worth asking actually as a question, because what that speaks to is the pride agenda that we are investing in. And fundamentally, what we're trying to do is to make sure there's significant extra street cleansing going in across the conurbation, that will include Westover Road effectively. We just passed our budget last Tuesday, and that comes into force as of the 1st of April. So it's not just extra street cleansing, it's extra community safety officers, CSAS officers, effectively, and that's part of a commitment from us to get cleaner, safer, and greener, effectively. So we had an initial amount of money we put in from the 1st of October. So we have had some positive feedback, but by no means enough in terms of some areas of the conurbation. So Anthony, thank you for raising it. It's absolutely on our agenda. What I've said is we need to not just say we're spending more money, we need to actually feel that are safer and cleaner. So more money will be going in, and it's an absolute priority of ours. So Anthony, thanks for raising it, and please keep raising it and contact me directly if you're not feeling that it's getting cleaner in the coming months. Ryan Harding has asked a question about the air show and will it go ahead. So it's absolutely our anticipation, Ryan, that the air show will go ahead. We're really confident that by the end of August, early September, we'll be able to put on a really good show. We noticed that from the 21st of June, there is supposed to be, as long as the current rates and numbers keep going in our favour, there won't be any further limits on social contact. So actually, we think it's really important for us as a conurbation to show support to our hospitality, tourism sector, and give some confidence, effectively. So very much, it's our aspiration to run it. We need to formally make a decision on that, Ryan, around about May. So as long as the rates are going in the way they are, we absolutely will. What we're trying to do also, Ryan, and a significant amount of money in the budget that passed last Tuesday, went through, was for something called Festival Coast Live, and it's about how we can bounce back better. So it's how we can encourage events and community events and hospitality safely over a period of time to open up. So Ryan, yes, the anticipation very much the air show will go ahead, and as well as a growing events programme as the lockdown eases and allows it. Ava's asked a question, Eva, sorry, about can we have benches back down at Poole bus station? Elderly people need them back. Ava, we're trying to do a large piece of work at the moment in terms of, I've just alluded to it slightly, in terms of our town centres, in terms of how we can make them more hospitable. We've got Poole regeneration as a real focus. As part of our big plan we put forward. Poole is a really key area for us, and that very much means the bus station. So we are looking at a wider piece of work around how we can improve that space, but I'll also specifically ask in a more short-term approach about the benches. So thank you for that. Okay, let me see. Okay, so we've got Rachel, you're asking a question about, would it be possible, Rachel Moore, would it be possible to install a 10-mile-per-hour limit to restrict the speeding cars along the prom who park in front of the huts at Boscombe Pier? Okay, so it's access to the prom is restricted, effectively. You've got to book it, it's locked, so there shouldn't be a significant amount of traffic on the prom, and Rachel, if there is, we'd like to know about it. Effectively, my understanding is, and certainly when I've seen them, our personal, our BCP vehicles effectively will be observing, safe limits. But I will check that for you as well. So thank you. Okay, and thank you, colleagues who's raised Lucy Allen's question from the earlier chat with us. With the Sandbanks ferry being unable to unload again at the weekend due to congestion, bearing in mind we're in a national lockdown and it was February, what plans does this administration have in place to manage traffic during the Easter and summer holidays? Long question, but I'll just cut to the chase if I may, Lucy. Thank you. Yeah, really fundamentally important question, and how interesting, isn't it? At the end of February we have some sunshine, and we were already having a situation in terms of the Sandbanks ferry. Positively about that didn't actually last for very long, and I saw the tweets and had ward councillors there at that situation, and saying that it actually started to move relatively quickly. But let's not forget that was in February, and we were certainly going to have busier and sunnier days coming forward. So Lucy, there's a massive programme of work going on at the moment around summer readiness, effectively. That includes all things from transport, from moving cars around to enforcement, effectively, to street cleansing, bins on the beach, effectively, and there's a huge amount of work. We put £1.1 million, we agreed last Tuesday, to enhance that summer readiness programme. Specifically in terms of traffic, it's one of the bigger problems we've got, because effectively, once people are here, there's nowhere they can go. So we're going to make sure we've got all our car parks open, effectively, so that we've got extra enforcement officers, we've got an ability to tow away vehicles that aren't parked safely, effectively. But Lucy, that there is a acceptance in some way that we are busy in the summer and we have a congestion problem. One of the specific things we need to be doing longer term is moving forward with lots of different active travel, methods which we're really looking forward to doing going forward, and also we're exploring the two things specifically around the vehicle traffic at the moment. One is early implementation of a park and ride scheme, which we will hopefully have some news on shortly, and the other is something called we're putting some funding in to a bounce back bus, effectively, which is going to encourage people. So it should be a free bus service from Bournemouth, certainly from Bournemouth train station, and we disperse them along the beach there as well. So there's a number of things, Lucy. Thank you very much for the question. It's fundamentally important. It's going to be something that we're going to have to keep effectively bringing up at these sessions to make sure we're getting it right, but there's a lot of work going on into it. Georgie Foo, thank you for the question in terms of implement controlling camping and waste on the beaches this season from visitors. Okay, so and you're saying personally you're in favour of a toll for non-residents. Georgie, so I'll talk to the first part of the question mainly. So we're looking at standing up a PSPO, Public Safety Protection Order, effectively, which means we're able to enforce against people camping on the beach, because we have campsites and it's not something we don't have the facilities for people to be camping on the beach. So we'll be able to enforce it more this year. In terms of waste, George, I've mentioned it slightly earlier in my one of my answers. Significant amount of work being done in terms of the seafront, in terms of how we can actually collect waste, and we're hoping we can do some innovative things, both in terms of what we're able to do as our council officers, make sure we've got enough bins, big enough bins, and access to them effectively. But we're also early stages of talking about how we can engage sort of community volunteers and more formally support some of the great work a lot of our community did last summer in terms of coming in and supporting that problem as well. So thank you for the question. Okay, James has asked a question about a 20% increase in wedding registrar fees when we're forced to rebook because of the pandemic. James, I wasn't specifically aware of that, so let me take that one away, and we will come back to you. Okay, Nicola Edelstein's asked, when will you learn the lessons from last summer and enforce exercise and social distancing on the beachfront? It's disgusting the amount of people down there last weekend. Nicola, I've answered that question in some extent in terms of our summer readiness. One of the things I think we need to appreciate, understand effectively, is that people are going to come here. We've just been awarded for best beach in the UK, fifth best beach in Europe, one of the top 20 beaches in the country, effectively, Nicola. So to expect people not to come here is frankly not going to happen. So we need to be ready for them to come here. So what we're going to be doing is deploying a lot of our COVID marshals, effectively, in terms of supporting social distancing. We've got a significant amount of extra community safety officers we're bringing forward. So we are going to be more active. We're working even closer with the police, and I really thank the police for their engagement so far. in our summer planning. We're going to have a command centre, effectively a council and police joint partners command centre permanently at Bournemouth Beach to cover our whole seafront area. But there's also, we should remember that we've just had some feedback in the national press around there was no COVID outbreaks in relation to summer gathering on beaches. So we also need to provide a message that, look, we're going to control as much as we can, but people have a right to spend some time on our seafronts, and we should encourage them as well to support our economy. So, Nicola, in answer to your question, we just need to get that balance right. We're putting a lot of work into it, and we hope we'll get there. Thank you. Okay. Carolyn Mellor, thank you for your question about adult social services. That sounds really urgent. It's not something I can answer immediately, but I will absolutely make a note of coming back to you. So, thank you, Carolyn. We will come back to you. Let me see if I can get down. Emma Louise Williams has asked about Dorset home choice as a mental health issue rapidly becoming a serious problem, effectively. So specifically, I'm not sure about that specific setting. I think we've had some really positive news in terms of the easing of restrictions and how more facilities are able to open. So Emma, hopefully that's shortly be being more positive. What I can say in terms of mental health, and we're really proud of this, we put a significant extra money into our budget past last Tuesday. So we put there's £1 million specifically going into a families investment fund, which is specifically designed to help our children who have been children of families who have been really impacted by COVID. So we've had children out of school for a significant part of the last 12 months, and a huge amount of impact there. A lot of those mental health related. We were one of the only councils, and we were first effectively to come up with a £1 million scheme to put into things like that. So all I can say is fully appreciate your problem, and we are absolutely committed to dealing with it. We're putting real money into dealing with that over and above the existing provision. So mental health is a priority for this administration. Okay, let me see if I can answer a question that hasn't already. Paul Slade, thank you for you're desperate for a haircut. What's the number for your barber? Well, it's my wife. She's managed to do my hair, so thank you very much for commenting on it. Let me just check. We are able to do personal care from the 12th of April, though, Paul. So you'll be getting towards your haircut quite quickly. Okay, I'm not going to answer a question about drugs and coronavirus. I'm certainly not qualified to do that. Dominic Gold up, I think that says about Adam Chine car park is often full with no notification of spaces. I think that's a really good point, actually. Is there any way a board can be installed before people drive all the way down? One in terms of that specifically, that's actually a really good point, Dominic. We're able to do that in a number of places. There's no reason we couldn't there. I think what it also speaks to is more VMS, virtual messaging systems, effectively. We need to actually be better at putting information around all our car parks across the conurbation and going as far up to effectively Ringwood when people are on the A338. So it's a really good point. Specifically, we can have a look at Adam Chine car park. Thank you, but we are working at how we can do more messaging. We for instance, last summer we launched a beach app, so we could start saying which parts of the beaches were busy. We're trying to actually work out how we can sort of extend that much further, and that does include all sorts of VMS systems, Dominic. So thanks for the question. Okay. Yeah, Cllr Bazan has asked a question, where do you see the future of day service provision after COVID restrictions have eased? Yeah, that's a really interesting question actually, because that whole piece has had to sort of mothball in many, and needs day service provision provide a really important part to the community. So we absolutely will have a commitment to maintaining them and trying to step those up. I think what we also, one of the things we put in the budget last week is around transformation. Assistive technology, I think it's specifically called. So how we can use technology to connect, connect people more, use things like Alexas in terms of providing support and provision. People are going to want to slowly come back to these services, so we're going to need to see other ways we can actively engage with them effectively. So in answer to your question, they're going to be absolutely needed. We're committed to them, but everything is evolving and changing. So we need to look at how we evolve and improve these services. Okay. Fine, let's try and find a question I haven't answered. Yeah, Dawn Hook has asked a question, and we see quite a lot of this on social media, so it's a very real issue at the moment, around the build-up of traffic going to the tip on the Nuffield. Other people need to use the road. Dawn, yeah, it's a problem, and it does back up. We're finding our tips effectively where we have to keep social distancing. We're not able to get as many people through them as we have been historically, so that is causing a backup, and also more people at home. There's more people using our tips as well. So all we ask is to look online effectively to when they're open. Perhaps plan your journeys around when it is more likely to be quieter effectively. If you see that the traffic's backing up when you're going, if you don't need to, please look again. Dawn, it's not a perfect answer, I'm sorry. It's a situation we're in at the moment, and until we can ease social distancing, it's going to be a problem. So we have to hope people can have a bit of supply and demand management there. Okay, Paul Whitmarsh talking about the planning applications department, submitted plans beginning of December and still waiting for a result without correspondence. Paul, that's not good enough effectively. We apologise about that. What we'll do is I will personally see if we can pick that up. What we have done, we have got a real challenge in terms of our planning system at the moment. We're trying to bring 3 separate planning systems together and teams together. There's a significant amount of planning applications going in. We're actually doing well in terms of the amount of planning applications going in, but there's a large backlog at the moment. What we've done, and we put into the budget again last Tuesday, was an extra £250,000 aimed entirely at trying to move that backlog forward, so extra investment in staff. We've got some aspiration, Paul, around a big plan to be a world-class city region. You can't do that if we can't move planning applications forward positively. So apologies specifically about your piece. We are absolutely committed to it. An extra £250,000 was put into our planning team, agreed last Tuesday, and will come into force on the 1st of April. So we will look to, we're committed to moving that forward, Paul. Kate Salter, question about, I know you're keen to promote children's mental health and well-being and have alluded to the fact that you would like to see through traffic in Poole Park stop to give children a safe outdoor space. Can you commit to plans to moving this forward by the summer holidays? Kate, so what we are, so I'm personally, helped set up a children's mental health and movement charity called Stormbreak, wonderful charity. So out of interest to any people with primary age children at home, please look up Stormbreak or teachers. We're doing some great work in terms of mental health in schools. Apologies for the plug there. But effectively, Kate, an active travel bit is really, really important. So, we need to create safe environments for children and outdoor space. And we've got a number of the active travel schemes effectively that have come forward positively. We've had to cancel some of them, but we're looking forward to both in the tranche 2, I think it's called, or stage 2 of active travel. Some really exciting ones of those to come forward, and going forward from that effectively is all our transforming travel fund. So I believe it's about over £80 million, which is going to go in active travel. So hopefully that's good. Okay, so Paul Draper's asked a question in terms of ARG Scheme 3, Tranche 3. So I've just lost your question, Paul, so I can't read it in detail. ARG 3, which are discretionary grant scheme, has effectively come out. So what we have been able to do, so we were one of the first people in the country that got the first part out. I believe we were actually the first part of the country. It might be slight poetic license there, but I'm pretty sure we were in terms of the second part of it. So that was at Nighttime Economy and places like aerospace businesses, etc. So that's gone out, and we put a significant amount of money out from the government in that. In terms of ARG3, we will put the exact details of that on here for you as well. So let me get that to you. Okay, I apologise now. We've only got 5 minutes to go, and I've noticed I'm 10 minutes behind on the questions. So still, please ask questions if you'd like to. We'll try and answer them on here, even if I might not be able to answer them live. Okay, Joanna Charles Jones has asked a question again about grants. So effectively for businesses not rateable. So if you've qualified for a grant already, the monthly grant, you will continue to do so, and you will continue to be paid. You notice the Chancellor is speaking, or has been speaking really recently, around extra grant coming out, which will be replacing that grant scheme, and I believe it was up to £16,000 as sort of a reopening grants effectively. Joanna, that's happening now as we speak, so we'll have more detail from that later. Yeah, great, and a good point about we should have noticing on the M3 as well as the A3, A38. So thank you. Okay, let me just try and scan through to see if there's something in the last 4 or 5 minutes we can. Joanna Charles Jones, Park and Ride for Beaches was mentioned last year, but no action on it. I was in a meeting this morning, Joanna, talking about it in detail. We have there was money in the budget for what we're calling a bounce back bus, effectively, so free bus from the train station. So we are acting on it effectively. So please take some confidence from that. We need to get more and more people moving around outside of their cars, particularly in the summer. So we will just clog up otherwise. So and we do that really well for things like the Air Festival. So let's do more of it. Okay, let me see. Can we get anything we haven't answered? Dawn Pritchard, is there any help out there with food for pensioners, vulnerable, disabled, and hardship families? Asked us by a few people. Dawn, yes, there is effectively. So. Particularly in relation to any COVID need, effectively, so you can contact our Together We Can hotline. I don't have that here, but I'm sure somebody will post that. But if you Google BCP Together We Can, you'll be able to get a number on that. We've also got a winter payments and winter grants we can access with as well. So if anybody's struggling, Dawn, we want to hear about it. Please do contact us. Fine. Yeah, so Joanne Thatcher, I think this is a really important, interesting question. Why not get more people doing community service, helping with the cleaning and rubbish issues during the summer? Joanne, I actually think that's really important. Not just because it's great to have more people involved in doing it, but volunteering is such a positive thing, and connection to community. We're bringing some really hopefully transformational work forward in the next 12 months over asset-based community development, which is basically working out what's strong in communities, not what's wrong. So when you've got people actively looking to engage in the communities, we need to harness it more. So absolutely something we can look at. You just have to look back at the 2012 Olympics and the games makers effectively, and what a difference they made. So we're coming forward with a concept called Festival Coast Live. So as and when we're able to open up, we're going to put a lot of energy and money and support into community events to try and really create a vibrancy about the place. And there must be ways in terms of just the litter piece, absolutely, but also around how we can actually get people involved in in welcoming people to BCP. As I said earlier, we've got the best beach in the country, we've got the 5th best beach in Europe. We're one of the best places in the world. Let's just create that real community sense and feeling, which we're hopefully putting some significant investment in to do. Okay, I've only got a minute left of this. Alison asked about wildflowers on verges. Yes, more. We are doing more of that. We think it works really well. Looks better, and it actually saves money on maintenance often. So Alison, that's a yes to your question. Lisa Cluett has asked a question around really timely. Schools go back on the 8th of March, so schools go back on Monday, so legally schools are allowed to reopen, and then schools will be individually working out what's the best way for them to bring their full cohorts back in. Lisa's question was, will you be fining parents if they don't send their children back to school next week? Will you support head teachers in authorising leave of absence? I think it's a fundamental point. So our children have lost a significant amount of education, and the best place for them is in school. We know that one of the most important facts of a child's education, and not just education, their well-being, their happiness, is around linked to attendance at school, and particularly above that 90% level. So Lisa, this administration, hasn't been in the habit of fining parents, nor was the previous administration. But what we do need to do is encourage parents to get their children back to school for all sorts of different reasons. We will always work with our schools in terms of doing that positively. We'll always listen to our schools in terms of how that needs to happen. We need to get kids back at school. There are a significant number of people. The clinically extremely vulnerable group has gone up significantly in the last few weeks. So there will be children who now won't be able to go to school because of that were used to, and sometimes parents are clinically extremely vulnerable too. So it is an ever-changing situation. We understand that fully. Please engage with your schools. They know what the best thing to do for the children is alongside the parents. Let's get as many kids as we can back to school. So I'll just finish actually in terms of saying thank you so much to our schools, anybody who works in our schools. They've got an amazing amount of work that's been done in terms of being open through lockdown. They will be opening again on Monday for more people. So thank you for all you're doing, amazing, and our children need you and we need you, so thank you. Okay, what we're going to try and do is answer as many of these questions as possible in the chat bar. If anybody would like to email me directly, my email address is drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. So please do feel free to contact us. The next one of these sessions will be in 2 weeks' time, so 1 o'clock on Wednesday in a fortnight. We won't be competing with Rishi Sunak and his budget at that time as well. But thank you very much for your attendance today. Please do feel free to keep answering questions and asking questions, and we'll do what we can. Thank you very much. Bye bye.